Good morning, teachers. I'm Teacher Lan. I will give you a brief explainer video on the implementation of the weekly home learning plan and the individual learning monitoring plan. This is based on the DepEd memorandum signed by Undersecretary Diosdado M. San Antonio on July 21, 2020. Let us first deal with the weekly home learning plan. Based on the DepEd Order Number 42 of Series 2016, or also known as Policy Guidelines on Daily Lesson Preparation for the K-12 Basic Education Program, provides the legal basis of lesson plan preparation for the basic education. In every modalities of learning, teachers are tasked to prepare for his or her lesson plan. Today, for the new normal, teachers will prepare the so-called weekly home learning plan. What is weekly home learning plan? Why do we have to prepare a weekly home learning plan? According to the memorandum, it indicates the necessity of the lesson planning as a critical part of teaching and learning process, which serves as a guide for instruction and contains details of what a teacher and learners will do in order to meet the required learning competencies. Further, the same order explains how the lesson plan should answer the following questions. What should be taught? How should it be taught? And how should learning be assessed? Given a new context for learning and the unique procedures in every modality, the weekly home learning plan shall be developed following these procedures. First, refer to the most essential learning competencies or MELCs in different subject areas. 2. Gather the self-learning modules and other learning materials needed for the self-paced learning mode. Using the self-learning modules as reference, accomplish the weekly learning plan by taking into consideration the learning competencies, key concepts or essential understandings, and learning tasks or formative assessments needed to track learners' progress in relation to the attainment of content standards. Fourth, the subject area teachers must collaborate to come up with a set of weekly home learning plans for one entire quarter or grading period by integrating all subjects in one learning plan. Teachers' programs and the class program must be prepared ahead to be guided of the schedule of each class in developing the weekly home learning plan. In the preparation, schools shall comply with the recommended screen time for learners. When preparing the weekly home learning plan, teachers should be guided with a long-term vision of what they want their learners to master and achieve in terms of content and competencies at the end of the school year. Hence, they may start with an end in mind using a backward design. In plotting the learning tasks, teachers should strike a balance between academic rigor and socio-emotional aspect of learning. Since the completion of learning tasks are done primarily at home, learners should be given the opportunity and flexibility to manage their own learning without sacrificing time-bound attainment of learning competencies. The weekly home learning plan shall be communicated to the parents for their reference and guidance. Copies of the plans for the entire first quarter may be distributed to parents during the first Parent-Teacher Association meeting before the start of the school year. They shall be given comprehensive and clear orientation of the school about the contents, purpose, and use of the learning plan by their children. Hence, it is highly encouraged that the teacher shall have prepared the weekly home learning plans for the first quarter prior to the opening of classes. The weekly home learning plans for the succeeding quarters may be distributed in time for the quarterly homeroom meeting. The same process shall be followed in terms of orientation about the contents, purpose, and use. Let's get to know the different parts of the weekly home learning plan: the learning area, learning task, learning competencies, and the mode of delivery. The learning area are the subjects prescribed to be taken by the learners in a particular grade level or key stage. Key stage 1 includes Kinder 1, 2, and 3. Key stage 2 includes grade 4, 5, and 6. Key stage 3 includes the junior high school and the senior high school. As for the learning task, these are the formative learning opportunities created for learners to enhance their understanding of the content, which prompt them to engage intensively in the subject matter. While learning competencies refers to the knowledge, understanding, skills, and attitudes of the learners need to demonstrate in every lesson and/or learning activity. And lastly, the mode of delivery. Mode of delivery refers to the method of submission of learning outputs to include written work, products, and performances preferred by the learner or parent based on their context or situation. Example are online submission through email or LMS posting, personal submission by the parents to the teacher in school, and many more. Who will be in charge of doing the weekly home learning plan? The weekly home learning plan shall be prepared by the teachers implementing the distance and blended learning, while the DLP or the DLL, which is prescribed under DepEd Order Number 42 of Series 2016, otherwise known as the Policy Guidelines on Daily Lesson Preparation for the K-12 Basic Education Program, shall be prepared by the teachers implementing the face-to-face learning. Allow me to share with you a sample of weekly home learning plan. I am a grade 3 class advisor handling English and Science at M. Signal Village Elementary School. We will implement the online learning modality for those who chose the online mode of learning. The weekly home learning plan shown in this video is my own weekly home learning plan for my grade 3 Magnanimous. This contains the 4 parts as stated in the DepEd Memorandum. This includes the learning areas, learning competency, learning task, and mode of delivery. SBS will observe 1 hour synchronous learning and 4.5 hours of asynchronous learning with the aid of teacher-made worksheets, modules, and video materials. Same goes to the learners who chose the modular learning modality. As you can observe, there will be 1 subject a day in a schedule for synchronous learning. Recorded synchronous videos will be provided for those who will not be able to join the online classes for them to catch up with the online discussions. In consideration to the other siblings of the learners, the school set a schedule specific for each grade level. The grade 3 synchronous learning is from 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. On Monday, they will have the English. The learning competencies based on the MELC is describe one's drawing about a stories or poem listened to, using the simple and compound sentence. For the learning task, the students will have to study and answer the following activities both in modules and worksheets. On the mode of delivery, for the online learners, they have to send outputs to Google Classroom account provided by the teacher or any other platform recommended by the school. For the modular learners, the parents must hand in the output to the teacher in school. Mondays, they have to attend the English and ESP subject. On Tuesday is the Filipino and the mother tongue. On Wednesday, they will have the science subject. On Thursday is mathematics. And on Friday is Araling Panlipunan and MAPE. As shown in MAPE, 1 area per week will be taught. At 3:30 to 5:30 p.m., both online and offline learners will have to answer worksheets and modules given by the teacher. And now, let's move on to the individual learning monitoring plan. For the learners who are given intervention activities, Their weekly home learning plan shall be adjusted to suit their comprehension level. They should be provided with tasks that are respectful for their cognitive ability, but with the right amount of challenge until such time that they are prepared to handle the non-learning task. The individual learning monitoring plan, on the other hand, is a more specific tool which shall be used by teachers and learning facilitators for learners who lag behind. By providing intervention strategies for certain period, the individual learning monitoring plan serves as the document that will show if the learners has shown either mastery of the learning competencies, significant progress, or insignificant progress. The individual learning monitoring plan shall be utilized to monitor learners' progress based on the given intervention strategies. Specifically, it shall be used to A. Serve a feedback data for the learners who are provided with intervention activities. B. Provide a mechanism of support to learners who are lagging behind as manifested by the results of the formative and summative assessments which may be gathered through their portfolio or collected samples of learning outputs. C. Make the parents or guardians aware of the academic progress of their children and encourage them to strengthen their involvement in guiding and supervising the learning of their children at home. Help decide on the effectiveness of the learning modality adapted for the learner and the possible modifications or adjustments that should be provided to improve the learner's performance. This will also guide teachers in adjusting learning content and tasks based on the characteristics, cognitive ability, readiness, interest, and profile of the learners. The individual learning monitoring plan has four parts. The first one is the learner's needs. This refers to the gap between the required knowledge, skills, and attitudes described in the learning standards and the current status of the learner, as evidenced by the assessment results. These are the areas where the learners need help in form of interventions to help them meet the required learning competencies. The next one is intervention strategies. It is a program or set of steps to help the learners improve at areas they struggled with. Intervention strategies may be any of the following form, but not limited to: first, extending time of completion of task; second, adjusting the level of difficulty of the learning contents or task; third, providing more guided activities before proceeding to independent activities; fourth, seeking for more supervised time with learning facilitator; fifth, and last, is giving example prototype learning outputs or models to serve as reference for his or her own work. The next part is the monitoring date. This refers to the date when the teacher has evaluated the result of the learner's assessments after the sufficient time of implementing certain intervention strategies. Learner's assessment may be through portfolios to include learning outputs such as written work, products, and performances evaluated using rubrics. Testimonies of parents or guardians and learning facilitators regarding the learner's progress may also be considered as a matter of holistic assessment. The next is the learner's status. The learner's status refers to how well the student learns as a result of teaching learning process in the learning delivery modality that he has chosen. It is determined after assessment of learning and completion of sufficient and appropriate intervention strategies. The fifth one is the insignificant progress. This refers to the status where the learner didn't meet expectations of the learning standards and received a grade of 75 and below for the first quarter and did not improve performance in the succeeding quarters. The next is the significant progress. This refers to the status where the learner has significantly improved performance after provision of intervention strategies by meeting learning standards as manifested by the increase in his assessment results. Example is from did not make expectations in the previous quarter to fairly satisfactory with a grade scale of 75 to 79 in the succeeding quarter. And lastly, the mastery. Mastery refers to the status where the learner has reached a level of mastery after provision of intervention strategies by meeting learning standards as manifested by an increase in the assessment results. Example, from did not meet expectation or fairly satisfactory in the previous quarter to satisfactory with a grade scale of 80 to 40, or a very satisfactory with a grade scale of 85 to 89, or fairly satisfactory in the previous quarter to satisfactory with a grade scale of 80 to 40, or very satisfactory with a grade scale of 85 to 89 in the succeeding quarter respectively. It should be noted that the individual learning monitoring plan is used only for learners who are not showing progress in meeting the required learning competencies. Teachers with this kind of learners are advised to prepare the individual monitoring plan and communicate with their parents regularly through home visitation. Thus, the teacher may also call the parents for a meeting to discuss the intervention strategies and what they can do to strengthen their involvement in their child's learning. In case a face-to-face meeting is not possible, teachers may communicate with the parents through emails, phone calls, social media, private messages, SMS, or any other modes of communication available. And now this is the sample of the individual monitoring learning plan attached Appendix F in the DepEd Memorandum signed by Undersecretary Diosdado M. San Antonio. Again, this is Teacher Lenny saying thank you and goodbye. Have a blessed day, everyone.